Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Please subscribe to our channel if you're visiting for the first time, and when you do that, kindly don't forget to turn on the notification bell. This will allow YouTube to recommend to you our new videos. You can also like our videos and share them. To all our subscribers and our supporters, I want to say thank you. May God bless you and continue in the same spirit. The ongoing battle between Raila Odinga and the ODM rebels is one that continues to grab headlines. Now, Raila Odinga has to deal with at least 3 officers if he has to succeed in expelling the rebels. And already you all know that the rebels have already, taken advantage of the first office. The political parties dispute tribunal is one that will sit down and hear both sides to see whether Raila acted in accordance with the law. And already they are there, and the political dispute tribunal stopped Raila from expunging the rebels from the party. The second office that Raila has to deal with is the registrar of political party, led by Ruto. And already the orders that were given from the political parties dispute tribunal also stopped the registrar of political parties from expunging the names of the rebels. And so those 2 offices are very crucial, and they will either aid or frustrate Raila in his bid to expel and instill discipline in ODM. And it's also dependent on the political goodwill of William Samoei Ruto, because these officers are also in the pocket of the executive. The other obvious office that Raila has to deal with is Parliament. Parliament is very crucial anytime you want to expel a member of Parliament from your party, or you want to remove them from their respective parliamentary committee seats. And so Raila has to deal with Moses Wetangula, who is the Speaker of the National Assembly, and Amason King is the Speaker of the Senate. And if the speech and statements that Moses Wetangula gave in Migori when he was invited by one of the rebels, Mark Nyamita, together with Karoli Mondi, who accompanied him in a harambe for one of the churches, if the speech there is anything to go by, then I can assure you that Raila has an uphill task, because already Moses Wetangula is taking sides, because he understands very well that a time will come when his services and authority will be needed. For example, if you want to remove your members of parliament from their several respective parliamentary committee seats, then you have to communicate in writing to the speakers of the two houses, and they have to officially communicate, without which the changes can never be affected. Now, I listened to Moses Wetangula when he was giving his speech, and he was lecturing Raila, telling him that he's undemocratic, and he feels that Raila should have not kicked out the rebels because all they did was to meet William Ruto for ostensibly acquire development. Just listen to Moses Wetangula.
You must defend and uphold the Constitution on the oath that you took. Don't be intimidated by anybody. Don't act in fear. Don't fear to act in accordance with the Constitution. That is what I advise you. Na wale ndugu zangu wenye wanaongoza vyama, you cannot be preaching democracy to the masses and oppression in your parties, because democracy must be everywhere. Na sisi huko kwetu nasema kama hukuli nyama ya ng'ombe, huwezi kunywa supu ya nyama ya ng'ombe. You cannot preach water and drink whiskey. If you preach water, drink water. Kwa hivyo this draconian behavior tunawaomba tupunguze. kabisa kabisa, kwa sababu if it is good for the party leader of a certain party to go to Mombasa and sit with President Ruto and talk about Kenya, it must be equally good for Nyamita to go and see the president and talk about Uriri. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba tu, wewe ulichaguliwa kuongoza watu ya Uriri. Wewe wakilisha wao, fungua kila mlango. Kama ni kufika kwa president ndio pate hospitali mzuri, enda. Kama kufika kwa Omolo ndio pate OCS mzuri, enda. Kama kufika kwa Susan ndio pate kitu mzuri, nenda. Don't be inhibited, don't be curtailed, and don't be sold any fear. Nilipigwa teke, nikasaidiwa haraka haraka, sasa mimi ndio speaker wa Kenya. Na mambo inakuanga hivyo. Sometimes when you oppress people, you help them to move even further.
I get sick and tired of leaders who tell us that we must seek the audience of the executive to get development. Because the last time I checked, we are all taxpayers. And so courtesy of the taxes that we pay, then we have to get equitable distribution of resources and development. The Constitution demands that once someone is declared a president, then he's a president of all the people. And he must ensure that he distributes developments across the region. So when Moses tells us that you must see the president, to get development, it is, the idea of some retrogressive and archaic politics which were only practiced by Moi, where all the resources were converged at a center, at the national level, and you had to come in State House and beg for it. If you don't subscribe to the president's political ideologies, then you are left out. No wonder they declared that this is a Kenya Kwanza limited company. If you didn't vote for them, you don't get development agendas, except that when you make a U-turn and go to them. But then, ladies and gentlemen, Moses Wetangula himself is lecturing Raila and is saying that what he did was wrong. And I want to tell you why there are fears that he's planning to frustrate the efforts of the ODM party, if at all it will reach his desk to remove these people from their respective parliamentary committees. And I'll give you an example because there is a past record that can be used. Recently, the Azimio decided to replace Fatuma Dulo, the Isiolo member of parliament in the Senate, to replace her with Ledama Lekina in her capacity as the minority chief whip. And the senator, Amason Kingi, frustrated their efforts until even Raila himself was really vexed, and he called on the Senate, the speaker, to respect the ODM. I'm just looking at that particular. Yes. And it's even recorded, Raila himself said, respect Azimio. Raila tells Kingi in row over Senate changes, because Raila really felt that the Senate was intentionally trying to frustrate their effort to replace Fatuma Dulo with Ledama Lekina. Of course, it dragged, but later the Senate, Amason Kingi, obeyed the orders and he replaced them. Now, Moses Wetangula really frustrated Azimio's effort to replace Sabina Chege. And I remember when the changes were to be made, there was a lot of altercation in Parliament. Some about 5 members of Parliament were suspended from their sittings for certain days because Moses Wetangula was using his authority. And it even played in Parliament when Sabina Chege was telling Moses Wetangula that, you also underwent through the same thing that I'm going through. These people are only frustrating people. And this has been a song, a choreographed song and claim from William Ruto himself. He says he was in ODM, he was frustrated and expunged out. Moses Wetangula is saying the same, because there was a time Moses Wetangula was a minority leader in Senate, I think, and he was replaced with Orengo. When back then they were in NASA, they realized that Moses Wetangula was blowing hot and cold. So with this, it begs one to really ask, by speaking and taking sides, do you think if this will reach his desk, do you think he will dispense justice? Because he's supposed to just look at the communication from the minority leader and effect the changes. If the party or the coalition says, we don't want Sabina Chege for certain reasons, he should not, go ahead and protect a member of parliament whose behavior is tantamount to, promoting the ideas and ideologies of another party. And ladies and gentlemen, by what has happened before, and I remember Moses was saying there, my hands are tied. He was really protecting Sabina Chege, and I think up to date Sabina has not been replaced. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a feeling that Moses Wetangula is intentionally planning to frustrate Raila Odinga, planning to frustrate ODM, planning to protect the rebels. And that's why I'm telling you that Raila has these three officers to deal with. And if William Ruto is going to let free the political parties dispute tribunal, to let free the registrar of political parties, to let free parliament, then justice will be dispensed. But if William Ruto is hell-bent in frustrating Raila, then these cases are going to drag, and the rebels are going to do their term, full term in office. We wait and see what will happen, ladies and gentlemen, and that is my take.